Hey y'all, I'm Emily.
I'm Jasmine.
And we are back with another episode of Area Real Estate. So we've had a very busy, month or two. And we just kind of want to recap what we've been doing this past month. So first things first. JJ, can you tell us a little bit about the freshman workshops we've been doing?
Okay, so we've been working with our freshmen a little bit. We've been doing a couple of workshops with them just to kind of give us some practice and get them introduced to some things with FFA. We've been doing the professional and non-professional teamwork workshop that we made up by ourselves. I think it's pretty good. We have two really fun activities. My activity was they had 1 minute to build a tower out of paper, and it had to hold this paper ball. Originally it was going to be my dinosaur, but I kept on forgetting my dinosaur. So I was make it I'd be explaining the workshop game, and I'd be making the paper ball that it had to hold. That's how non-prepared I was for these. And it was very competitive. The first team that we did, or the first little group, we had donuts and pins for them. The second group was kind of last minute, and so they got bragging rights. But they were so involved in it that we didn't need a prize to make it competitive. So I think that went really well. Do you want to tell them a little bit about your activity?
Absolutely. So a big thing we're trying to implement and kind of practice among our freshmen is the importance of kind of stepping out of your shell and forming new teams and stuff, because I know that my freshman year, I always wanted to be with the same people and kind of limit my groups, but now that I'm doing stuff with FFA and we're getting to do all these things, you have to learn how to work with all kinds of people. And so anyway, for my part of the activity, this was a little bit more of a rambunctious activity, I guess. We split them up into random groups with different friends at each table. And then they were all given a skit topic. So one was someone being a carrot, another one was someone trying to sell a product.
Some of these were really funny.
Yes, they were. And so with both groups, you could tell definitely with the first group we had, they were kind of a little iffy to want to do it just because, you're younger and you have these older kids telling you to do something and everything's embarrassing, blah, blah, blah.
Everything is embarrassing.
It really is, yes, but I swear it's not. And then when was that, 2 days ago, when we had the second session of this, those kids were so into it. We needed to give them time limits for their skits because they wanted to go on for 10 minutes at a time, and they were so good too, just because you could really see that they were, I guess you could say, passionate about it. They wanted to do it. And so the whole reason why we did a skit and that kind of activity is to show them that even though all these people, they may not be friends regularly, or they're never really in the same environment, they can all find that common ground and can all work together. So the biggest thing with that is teaching them that everyone has a vital part on a team, whether you're friends or not, and that is how you can form those bonds that last forever, which is definitely something we've seen at FFA. So kind of going off of that, again, we really focused in on how to facilitate workshops. Because
some of those groups were rowdy, and we got to practice kind of bringing them back in, and they were pretty big groups, and so we got to practice introducing callbacks and affirmations and kind of bringing them back to ground zero, because again, they were so involved that we had to kind of bring them back in and bring it back to a learning perspective, and we practiced that. Got good practice.
And that was a big thing. I'm glad we did that. And so kind of going off of that, I know as area officers, one of our biggest roles this year, or the biggest role we have this year, is to plan our annual conference. And so we're having that on October 10th, and we kind of discussed this in some of our previous episodes, but we've had Zoom meetings, we've been planning, writing our magic formulas out, and so now we can kind of tell y'all a little bit about what we're doing. So we are having a conference, and we're going to discuss kind of the importance of service learning and how that differentiates from community service, because that is such a big part of FFA and being, civic role models in our communities and having that sense of civic responsibility. And so kind of with that, and I'll let you talk a little bit about your activities and stuff, we just really want to have everyone in our area recognize, there are always ways to help out. There are always ways to facilitate service learning projects, and so we're kind of wanting to push out the importance of service learning while also, getting these kids more involved in FFA. So what is kind of your mindset going into this conference?
My mindset going in, I really want this to be a fun and engaging workshop. I know when I go, I already have my outfit planned. It's one of the things I'm most excited about. we have a sports theme,
Yes.
and my little section is like track and field.
Yeah.
And so I have my track suit from
That
last
is
year,
good.
and I'm gonna have like dad socks. I'm gonna be the typical coach. I'm
You
gonna
need
get
a
myself a
stopwatch.
visor,
Mhm.
a stopwatch. I'm gonna
Yes.
have a little whistle.
Oh,
I'm gonna
yes.
get Mr. Riley's got like a fanny pack I can
Oh my
borrow.
God, yes.
The whole 9 yards.
Yes.
But kind of talking a little bit more about the content that we're going to cover,
Mhm.
we're really going to be talking about how you specifically can get involved in service learning. So we have a little activity where you go out and you find your own service learning project, and you have the opportunity to go out and make your own service learning project, get those hours in, get that learning, and then we have like a competition. There's
Yes.
a rubric for it, but there is a prize at the end.
Yes. Everyone enter. We want y'all to enter.
And so we're really going to be talking about the different types of service learning that there is.
Yeah.
I know me and Anna are going to be covering the basic steps to service learning because there's so many, and you guys will
Yes.
learn about this, there's so many ways you can implement service learning.
Absolutely.
That there are a couple key factors that you can follow, and all of those are so beneficial, and not just in FFA, but also overall in your entire life. I know I've done a little bit of service learning. I work in a clinic on Mondays, and I not only am learning a little bit about how family medicine works, but I'm also getting to meet people, and I'm getting to help them feel better and just improve their lives a little bit, and it's been so beneficial to me because now I look at everything from the viewpoint of like, how can I help them? Because I just know more about it now, and I'm more willing to serve people because I've had that experience. And I'm so excited to introduce that to other people.
For sure. And like kind of going off of that, I think one of the main takeaways we want people to have off of our service learning workshop is what it does for you in the aftermath. So like you were saying, like you're learning how to talk to people, you're learning how to be more sympathetic for others. Really a big thing when people go out and create these service learning projects is they have to learn how to self-examine themselves and how am I applying.
That's one of the steps of self-examination.
Trust. Be ready, y'all. And so students are going to have to learn that there is a definite difference between going out and kind of go back. There's a difference between going out and serving your community, because you want resume hours or community service hours, versus doing it to apply the things that you're learning in class or apply the things that are going on in your life, so that way it benefits both yourself as well as your community. So kind of wrapping up that section, we want y'all there. If you are in area
it's gonna
2,
be fun.
It's a sporty service learning workshop, and we would love to have all of you there. There will be food. Trust.
If you're competitive,
snacks.
enter the competition,
Oh,
but you have to be there to enter the competition. So.
And just so y'all know, there is a prize on the line.
There is a prize.
It's a big, big prize.
It is a big prize, and we're not exaggerating.
The last thing we have to cover, because this just feels like Workshop Mania episode.
It does feel like Workshop Mania.
So I think this was 2 weeks ago. Y'all, I have no understanding of my time right now.
It's all getting blurry.
It is. Every day is the same. Like,
you know how sometimes you'll have a dream and the dream is blurry?
Yes.
It feels like that. That's what these weeks feel like.
My life is a fever dream right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so a few weeks back, and actually on our previous episode, I think, we talked about how we were planning to go to the middle school for our workshop. Well, we did have our workshop, and the two of us did it along with Elizabeth Blaircombe, who is our state vice president representing Area 2. And so while we were there, we were really trying to introduce the purpose of FFA and also kind of show, because our Winfield Middle School, they have never had an FFA chapter before, and so this is kind of the start of that. And so we had a pretty small, there were about 10 kids, but they were so attentive. They were so into it. They wanted to know, what is FFA? What are CDEs? What are LDEs? And anyways, so the main purpose of us being there was, again, to introduce the idea of FFA, and that it's not cows and chickens and the normal stereotype we put around it. And I don't know, I really feel like that day, you could tell that those kids, they cared.
Yes.
They were excited about having something else in middle school, because middle school, you're just kind of there. There are a lot more opportunities, of course, at the high school level, and so when you give them something like FFA, they can build off of that, really begin to find their place before they even step into the halls of the high school. So, do you kind of want to tell them what kind of activities we did?
So we did a couple activities, and what Emily said earlier, they seemed really apprehensive at first, but as the workshop went on, they were more I remember I had a kid who one of our activities was writing down what you want to be in the future. And he was
Yes.
like, before I do anything, I want to go into carpentry. And I was
Yep.
like, that's the spirit. And he was
Period.
so excited
Yes.
about some of the competitions that we had.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because when I did that activity, we just had them write like what they wanted to be and some steps it would take to get there when they grew up.
Yes.
Everyone's one of their main steps was always an FFA competition, and they were able to see how FFA directly correlates with
Yeah.
being able to help them in their. It was just so interesting to see them go from not really knowing or thinking
Yeah.
like I'll do 1 or 2 FFA competitions to I want to do exactly this, and I'm so excited. And I had a couple kids, they really like plant science.
Yes.
Because they
They were
want to go.
obsessed.
They want to go into medicine, and medicine is plant science. And so that was really interesting to see them make those connections all on their own
Absolutely.
with a little bit of guidance for us.
Yeah.
But I know you did an activity where they had to categorize things into LDEs, CDEs, and
Yes.
SAEs. And at first they were a little bit confused.
They were.
But I
very.
know that they got it towards the end because they were able to start seeing like, okay, this is what you would do in a career development competition.
Yes.
This is more leadership, and then this is something that I would do on my own. And they seemed really interested in
They
CDEs.
really did.
Which is very promising because not very many people hold a lot of value to CDEs.
Agreed.
When we look at the 3-circle model, it's often FFA, then it's the classroom, and then SAE is supposed to be this big circle
Yes,
along with it.
yes.
But really, it's ended up being like this smaller circle
Like
down to the side.
This big.
And so, not very many people do them, and not
Yeah.
very many people do them. I know I am not doing. I'm not doing a very good job on mine right now.
I mean, either. It's
Mine's like equestrian stuff because I take
Yes.
care of horses.
Yeah.
But it's so exciting and
It
so
is.
refreshing to see them not only engaged in CDEs and LDEs, and they're not only competitive in that, but they're also
Yes.
very excited to see SAEs, and they're excited to take initiative and do those things all on their own.
Yeah, that was the big thing. Is like there was nothing that they wanted to limit themselves
Right.
to, because it was like for one of the guys or one of the little boys that was there, he wanted to do forestry, and so like of course prior to this workshop he had no idea that we even had competitions like that. So the whole time he was kind of going on a roll of this is kind of go along with the carpentry thing you said. He was like, oh, I want to do forestry so then I can have better understanding of like the plants around me, and then maybe apply that to natural sciences and stuff. And this goes along for all those kids. Like there were girls who wanted to be veterinarians, and so they could apply and work on the vet skills CDE. And kind of just overall, I know we closed it out. Alyssa closed us, and they all had to make like little contracts for themselves, and it was like, I will push myself to be involved in FFA by doing this, or I will try to practice my public speaking skills in order to prepare for future success, maybe as a lawyer, a doctor, etc. They really kind of just envisioned what they wanted and how they can apply FFA and all the practices that we have in order to implement that into their lives. And so, again, and this is kind of like with all our workshops, like I always feel like it's coming off as a win because we walk away from every workshop and these kids have a new insight on FFA and
a
also,
new excitement
yes, and like also the things that they want to do out of their lives, because like the thought of the future is terrifying, but when we give those kids these outlets, you know, to be able to apply themselves and put their skills into practice, then I don't know, I think it really gives them a way of understanding that the things and the reason why we do all the things we do right now, even though it can be tiring and stressful and all this, it's so worth it in the end because it gives them that final result of success.
Yes.
So, I mean, really, after this episode of Workshop Mania, that's what Mr. Riley, please title it that.
Title it Workshop Mania.
Workshop Mania. Really just, I've really had an exciting time holding these workshops because you would have asked me, 3 weeks ago, I would have no idea how to do one. And now I feel even more prepared for our CT conference that is coming up. So,
just a little bit more about that. You talked about how they kind of have like this outlet now, and I think that's really important because a lot of kids, when it comes to grades and other classes, they are forced to do those things. But with FFA, you get to take initiative, and when they see that, I'm not
Agreed.
forced to do this. Like, this is something I can choose to do.
Yes.
There's so much more exciting. Getting to introduce that to them has been such a privilege. And like you said, I've gotten so much better at doing workshops. I've gotten so much more
Yes.
confident in my abilities.
Absolutely.
We're able to pick up like where each
Yes.
other left off, and we're
Help
just
each other
closing
out.
it up nicely. And the practice has been so good.
Yes.
I feel like I could really go into and do a good quality workshop for the
Conference.
people
Yes.
that I'm talking to
Agreed.
in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
So I can't wait.
I know. Okay. Well, I think that's all we have.
I
for
think that
this
is all we have.
episode of Workshop Mania.
Workshop Mania.
We love you guys, and we can't wait to see y'all next time on the next episode of Area Real Estate.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.